Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to talk about an interesting thread that has popped up on Twitter. The 10th anniversary is of course now officially over. I hope you guys enjoyed the celebration. If you're newer players or returning players, hope you had a great time. Obviously longer standing players, I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Hopefully it was a great celebration for everyone. There's a lot of interesting things that they did for the first time, for better or for worse. It definitely was not the perfect celebration. I don't know if such a thing really exists, I don't know, but it was very, very good. A lot of interesting things happening. It was not without its flaws for sure, but overall I think I would say that it is probably the best celebration in the history of the game. Obviously that would mean therefore it's the best anniversary. There's just so much that was good about it. I think that even the things that were maybe bad about it, I think can be outweighed by the positives. So that leads us to the subject of today's video, which is this thread that was put up on Twitter by Rody2K. Quick thread on why I think Dokkan Battle's 10th anniversary was a disaster. That's right, disaster. Good. Interesting choice of wording. Now, I assume that the point of this is to be attention grabbing, right? Because if you wanted to say like, I don't think it was that great of a celebration or something like that, I still wouldn't agree, but it kind of opens the floor and like leads you into the discussion on sort of a more neutral kind of ground. But literally straight up calling it a disaster, I think is wild, which I think most people would agree. I mean, unsurprisingly, the thread has not been well received, but I thought we would take a look at it. Now, I do want to say straight away, I don't know this person personally or like particularly well. They're in like the Dokkan big group chat that I'm in. They seem like a perfectly decent standard like sort of guy. Like I don't know him personally, like I said, so you know, I don't know what they're like in real life or outside of Twitter or whatever, but I think they are kind of well known for having takes that a lot of people don't agree with. I think, to be honest, every time I've seen them post things like either tier lists or a thread that's, you know, like this might be a hot take or something, it's like something I don't agree with at all. But I will preface this by saying, obviously do not like, you know, send any hate or anything over to this person. If you don't agree with the thread, like I don't, let me know why in the comments, but don't be, you know, rude to them. Don't be out of order like on Twitter. There's no need for that. I mean, I thought this video would be fun to do because at the end of the day, like, it's an attention grabbing thread. They've posted it on a public forum. I'm going to post my reaction to it. But if I find out that people have like seen this video and then gone on to be negative to the person, then I just like, I won't do videos like this again in the future, right? Because it's just completely unnecessary. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and dive in, see what they have to say, and I will give my thoughts as we go. Okay, so first problem is the lineup. They say all of Dragon Ball will be there. They give us 2 DBS Tournament of Power LRs and flat out give us 0 Dragon Ball LRs. Remove either Goku and Frieza or Blue Evolution and replace it with Kid Goku if you're going to say all of Dragon Ball will be there. Now, I do kind of get this, right? Like if you're an OG Dragon Ball fan, I think the lack of OG Dragon Ball representation in the anniversary was like kind of brutal, especially when they did start off the celebration by saying that it was going to incorporate all of the history of Dragon Ball. But whilst it does feel kind of like a cheap, like, you know, just take what you're given kind of thing, it's like they said that all of Dragon Ball will be there and all of Dragon Ball was there, right? It was only one free-to-play unit, but OG Dragon Ball was there. And then, of course, the first... I mean, we didn't know that then, so I'm not saying that you can retroactively, like, make an argument for the anniversary being better, but I suppose events don't exist in a vacuum. But Saiyan Day, the immediate release after the anniversary, was an OG Dragon Ball, like Kid Goku. And from my brief usage of him so far at 55%, he's potentially, like, the new best TUR in the game. I don't know, maybe he's not on quite as good as Glorio because of the crazy support, I don't know, but he's really, really good, right? But, of course, that doesn't change the fact that the anniversary lineup itself only had one OG Dragon Ball character, and that is a bit disappointing when they said it would include all of Dragon Ball. They even added in the Daima Vegeta at the end, right? So Daima got one unit as part of the anniversary as well, technically. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things. It sucks if you like OG Dragon Ball, but at the end of the day, if you really want to nitpick, like, all of Dragon Ball was there because there was a OG Dragon Ball LR, even though it was a free-to-play. Like, they didn't say all of Dragon Ball will be there as the headliner summonable LRs. So, unfortunately, that just is what it is. But if you like OG Dragon Ball, even if you don't like it that much, but you're annoyed about this because you thought it would be included as part of the headliner stuff, I think that's a fair criticism, but I definitely would not say that that in and of itself makes, like, the anniversary bad, right? So then we have the quality of the units themselves. Half of the new LRs are disappointments, and one of them doesn't even have an active skill. I mean, that is annoying that one of them doesn't have an active skill, but I guess it's one of those things where we want premium units to have all of these cool abilities and stuff, but like a unit not having an active skill doesn't necessarily automatically equal unit is bad and like units of the celebration are underwhelming. Like, Vegeta would absolutely be better if he had some kind of active skill, and that's not the only problem with his kit. So I think like tacking that on the end, like, and one of them doesn't even have an active skill. I mean, I don't really care. Like, if we get 6 new units and 5 of them have active skills, and in fact, a lot of them have multiple active skills because they're the tag units. So yeah, that doesn't bother me that much. It's more the fact that Vegeta is just not a good unit. If he was a good unit without an active skill, then him not having an active skill, I think that doesn't matter at all, right? And then Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is doing nothing special and is a filler unit of a character we haven't gotten since 2019. He feels more like a yellow coin LR. I mean, I don't know. I've got mine at 55%. I've used him a fairly decent amount. I think he's really good. When I've run his team and run like a Rainbow Friend, I think the Rainbow Friend is really good. Obviously, I guess maybe personal preference, but I don't know. Saying that he's nothing special, I've seen him put out some crazy numbers. I guess it's one of those things where it's really difficult when a unit like this comes out at the same time as units like Vegeta and Gogeta, because obviously he's not doing what they're doing, but he's still really good. So I don't know. I think he's good. So I think he's including Gohan when he says here that half of the new LRs are disappointments. So, I mean, I don't agree with that, right? Like, I think Goku and Frieza and Blue Evolution Vegeta are a bit disappointing. Although I will say, like, I think they may even be slightly overhated. Like, in some difficult content, as much as he can be annoying, I'm not going to get into hugely, like, defending the units here, but, like, Blue Evolution Vegeta can be a really solid, like, slot 2 unit. Like, once he's attacked and he's fully built up, he's got insanely high defense with really good damage reduction. He can do some pretty good damage. It's just annoying when you get those turns where he does, like, repeated additional normals, but, like, he can be good in some situations. I definitely agree that he's disappointing, but I kind of feel like they maybe are a bit overhated. I don't know. Goku and Frieza is more unique, but is likewise undertuned again. For a unit we haven't gotten since 2018 and has the new tag mechanic, feels just like a decent yellow coin monthly LR. I mean, I could kind of see it, right? Like, both of these guys could have just been yellow coin LRs in a celebration, and I think maybe they would have been better received because yellow coin LRs have been kind of hit and miss overall. But yeah, I mean, this unit is weird, but really good in the Formidable Foes event because of Frieza's attack lowering and ability to stun. And then when you get to the second phase, which is obviously harder, and the enemy can't be stunned, you can switch to Goku, who's then a really strong defensive unit. So I guess it kind of makes sense that while he was a bit underwhelming in content that was already out, like when these guys first dropped, as the Formidable Foes event came out and the harder stages came out, this unit had a home where it could be quite useful, which, I mean, if one of the anniversary units coming out is geared more towards one of the specific contents from the anniversary, that kind of makes some form of sense, right? So I'm not like, I don't super hate it, right? And again, I think these guys are maybe overhated. Then we have Blue Evolution Vegeta, probably the worst LR we've gotten from an anniversary. I don't know, man. I mean, Int Kid Gohan and AGL Kai Goku. I mean, AGL Kai Goku was really good on release, but aged very quickly. Int Gohan was really good and probably underrated, but aged so quickly. Because you got to remember, like, the Carnival LRs in these big celebrations now are essentially the modern equivalent of, like, the Part 2 LRs. But yeah, worst LR ever from an anniversary. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Broly Trio on release, were they actually any good? I mean, people were using them for the dodge shenanigans and the memes with the 7 orbs. But I'm just trying to think of, like, Part 2 LRs. STR Kaioken Goku and Tech Great Ape Vegeta are anniversary LRs. And we're saying that this guy is worse than them on release? Like, nah, this guy 1,000,000%. Like I said, I think he's a bit overhated. I do think he's a disappointing unit, don't get me wrong, but I will absolutely fight on the hill that this guy was better than STR Kaioken Goku on release. But I guess there you go. It's a hype what if of UI Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta teaming up, which I agree. I think the unit super is really disappointing considering the quality of some of the other supers in the game. Seeing UI Goku and Blue Evolution together would have been a really awesome like hype moment, and I think the active skill kind of falls flat. And then yeah, massively undertuned in terms of everything. And then of course we come back to he doesn't even have an active skill, which like I said, if he was a good unit, I don't think him not having an active skill matters. But with him seeming a little bit disappointing and undertuned, I think him having a active skill would have really helped like quite a lot. So who knows when we're going to get another team up card of Blue Evolution and UI, maybe never. I mean, that is true, right? Because it is like not a canon, like they never fight together. So it's a cool little Dokkan, like what if the one time they do it, it's just a mess of a unit. So 3 of the new LRs, all of which are units that either hadn't gotten units in forever or will likely never get a unit again, are complete busts. So while we got more summonable LRs this anniversary than any previous, we might as well have only gotten the 3 good ones. I mean, I don't know about that. Like, first of all, I would absolutely not say that the 3 of them are complete busts. Frieza and Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta are a little bit disappointing, but they're not completely terrible units. It's not like you can't beat content with them and their teams. And obviously, I think Gohan is actually way better than this guy is giving credit for. And again, like when we go back to anniversaries where we had the 2 Part 1 LRs that were really good, and then Part 2 LRs like Kaioken Goku and Great Ape Vegeta, this is like a similar sort of thing that the anniversary has done before, but I just don't think on the same kind of scale. But, you know, obviously it's my opinion at the end of the day. Having 3 of 6 of the LRs be good is worse than if it was 3 out of 4. Having 75% of the new releases be good feels a magnitude better than only 50%. Quality is more important than quantity. I mean, I do agree with that, but obviously I think 4 of the 6 are good, which I guess then we're talking about 66% rather than 75%. But yeah, I mean, quality is more important than quantity. I don't disagree with that at all, but I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Then there's the EZAs, too many to go over in depth, so I did a quick overview. They did nail the 2 most important EZAs, but that's to be expected. That's obviously the 7 years. However, for going all out, they sure gave us a lot of stinkers and disappointments. That's quoted because I think it mentions it specifically again later, but they did say in advance before the 10th anniversary that they were going all out for the anniversary. Because in fact, he does mention at the in the thing here, right? I'll preface this with the expectation going into the anniversary is that they won't be holding back anything, since that is what they told us for months leading up to the anniversary. So I guess that, you know, looking at it from that perspective does add an extra sort of like filter to it. But so in terms of EZAs, let's see what we got. So AGL Super Vegito, undertuned, laughable support, unreliable. I mean, undertuned, maybe, I don't know. I mean, he tanks all normals in the game, right, for the most part. I don't know. Laughable support, I mean, they've kind of just thrown support on like all super EZAs, and some support is better than nothing, I guess. Unreliable is just kind of true because he's a unit that will get annihilated by hard-hitting super attacks, and his job is just to be there and tank and counter normals. But, you know, if you don't have a scouter up on the turn that he's on, then he just is a liability. So to be fair, I don't run him on any of the teams that he can be run on, because obviously I just worry that he's going to get tagged by a super. But obviously in some of the longer events, because I think he's way too risky to run in like formidable foes, but in the longer events when you've got like the 7 years and the 10 years and those units are coming with scouters, then obviously you can kind of protect him a little bit, and then he is tanking all the normals. I don't think I would say he is. I think he's put like a percentage value at the end, so I'm guessing it's like how good they are, and Vegeto's got like a 30%, which I think maybe that's a bit low. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Super Gogeta, decent, but a far cry from what an anniversary Super EZA should be. I mean, I disagree. I think Gogeta is amazing. I think he's one of the best Super EZA units. I've used him a ton. I think he's really, really good. Super Janemba, pretty good, but homeless. Doesn't really live up to his EZA. I'm sorry, what? Homeless? He's on the teams with Boo, like the, he's on uncontrollable, he is on uncontrollable power, right? But he's on teams with like Buhan, he's on the Glorio Leads team, like the same teams that we're running physical LR Janemba on. So, yeah, I don't get that. Homeless, I don't agree with that at all. Doesn't really live up to his EZA. I mean, maybe that's true, because when he got his original EZA, he was kind of like the Big Daddy, like, best Easy A unit in the game, and then the Super Easy A obviously is not, oh wow, this is the new best Super Easy A. So I guess that part is kind of true, but I think pretty good but homeless is kind of wild. Buhan, absolutely ridiculous Easy A, but also kind of homeless at the moment. Again, I don't get this. Like, Margin Power is still an absolutely crazy team, and Buhan is on uncontrollable power and demonic power. So some of the best teams in the game at the moment, like double Glorio leads, and this guy's on that team, right? So don't get that at all. Perfect Cell, also extremely good but homeless. These two will be helpful in the future. I mean, again, Cell's on basically on most of the teams that Buhan is on. So I don't know if this guy just maybe doesn't have Glorio or forgot what Glorio's leader skill is. I'm not sure. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, rather undertuned, very little damage, not amazing defense, just kind of there. I mean, this is what I've said about this Gohan before, the in Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, is if you look at him as he's a floating superclass support unit, then he's really good. Because floating support units hitting as hard as he does and having the defense that he does are kind of few and far between. But if you're looking at him as like I want him to be on main rotation and be one of the hardest hitting units on the team and tanking all the big boss super attacks, then obviously he does feel underwhelming if that's what your expectation of him is. But once you start, like, as I do, once you start looking at him as he's a floating support unit for superclass allies, then I think his Super Easy 8 is very, very good. Namek Super Saiyan Goku, again, undertuned. He's good, but not as good as a Dokkan Fest exclusive LR Easy A should be. I would probably agree with that for the most part. I think he maybe is being a bit overhated by some people, but he is definitely undertuned, I would say. Full Power Frieza, very good Easy A that could potentially be great after a Namek Worldwide celebration. Yeah, again, he's in a very good spot. Not on a lot of crazy teams. I mean, he technically is on the AGL Gogeta team. But yeah, he's a unit that hasn't seen a huge amount of use from me, but is very good on certain teams. Kaioken Goku, per STR keys for obtained damage reduction rate 4%. 20, is that 28%? I mean, I think Kaioken Goku is kind of underrated. I think people are forgetting, like, post super attack, he can have ridiculously high defense, and if you've picked up the STR orbs, he does have that damage reduction. Obviously, if you don't get the STR orbs, because for some reason they made it STR orbs only, which is definitely, I will concede, right, a bad design choice. As long as you get some STR orbs, like post super, his defense is good. So yeah, I don't think he's necessarily that big of an issue. Definitely not. I wouldn't rate him at like 28%. I think he's pretty good, just not really good enough. And the problem is the teams that he's on, like Full Power, like obviously because he's not a Super Saiyan or Power Beyond Super Saiyan or anything like that, there's a lot of teams that he doesn't get to be on. And then some of the teams that he is on, there's just better options, right? So he definitely is an underwhelming Easy A, but I'm not sure about this analysis. Great 8 Vegeta, amazing Easy A that made him a defensive god. They did him justice. Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, God Goku and God Vegeta and the Super Saiyan 4s, I don't need to say anything, 100%. I mean, yeah, that's, yeah. GT Goku and Vegeta, decent Easy A, loses a bit identity as a damage dealer and becomes generic, and then Vegeta is strengthens his previous identity and for some reason hits harder. I mean, yeah, both of these guys really good Easy A's. I think the Vegeta is better than the Goku, especially if you're running them outside of like the GT Heroes kind of setup. But they're both very good. Super Saiyan 3, Vegeta, undertuned and disappointing for the potential that he had. I mean, that is very true. I do think he is, again, maybe a bit overhated, but it's not like he's completely impossible to use. But I do agree that, considering the potential that he did have, I think he is very, very disappointing. So the overall grade for the Easy A's for the anniversary, 72%, barely passing. I mean, I really don't think with all of these guys, if I look down this list, for me, the ones that I think are bad or like really are not really good enough is AGL Vegito, Namek Goku on as a like just about, Kaioken Goku, and then like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. So that's 4 out of like, how many is there? Like 16, 17, something like that. So yeah, that's pretty good overall. Then there's the content. We've got Super Extreme Super Battle Road, aka Hardened Foes, a decent format in concept, however there were too many fights that felt more like a chore to get through than an actual challenge, and as a result having to play against those fights in order to get to the actual challenge, like against Cell Max or Broly, feels like a waste of time. It wasn't challenging enough on top of feeling like a chore to play through. I mean, I would say it was pretty challenging. Some of the stages took a few attempts, especially obviously going for like the no items run. I think because it is like a Super Battle Road kind of setup where you can bring 4 items, if you're using items, then I guess realistically it isn't a very challenging event, but I suppose it's hard to say. Like, every event becomes easier when you're using items, right? That's why you use them. So I'm not really sure on that one. Then you've got the Red Zone. They almost had a great fight with Goku Story Red Zone Universe Survival Saga. Locking into dodge cancelling with the squishy early phases to make build up more difficult was great for making you think about the moves you were making. I mean, I can kind of see that perspective, but you guys know I hate locking. So any stage that has locking, I will never say is good, because there's nothing worse than, like, especially if you are going for a no item run, which I know the game isn't designed for that, but if you're going for a no item run, you can get a rotation where a unit who absolutely cannot survive in slot 1 gets locked in slot 1. So unless you use an item, you just lose and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So I will never call anything with locking a good design. But yeah, a locking phase into a dodge cancelling phase is always tough. It was the same with Goku and Frieza, but it can certainly be interesting. But the fight was lacking a bit of stats. I'm sorry, what? Aren't like the Jiren bosses some of the hardest hitting bosses that we'd gotten for like the end red zones at that point? The design and mechanics were still there, but it was a bit undertuned for the units we were given. Overall was still a very good fight. Then the Goku versus Vegeta fights were fine too, but I think Jiren is the best. Yeah, Jiren I think a lot of people consider harder. The Goku one was kind of easy because you can attack lower. The Vegeta one was easy because he always supers in slot 1. If the Goku Story Jiren was the hardest fight of the 10th anniversary, I'd have said they handled content okay. Could have been a bit, but at least wasn't bad. I mean, I think the Red Zone overall was good. Even the stages that were hard, like, it didn't take me loads of attempts, even for the no item runs. I never thought at any point they were like super unfair or anything like that. So I don't know. I think Red Zone wise definitely did very well. Yeah, but then Omatsu had an idea. Festival of Battles. Worst designed fight in history, Zamasu, versus worst designed fight of today. The Festival of Battles. So we got to talk about what it means to design a fight that's hard but still well designed. There's 2 ways to increase the difficulty of a fight. Give a fight bigger stats, give the fight more mechanics. Goku Story Jiren had the mechanics but lacked some stats. Festival of Battles is just stats. So yeah, it's just numbers. Which in Dokkan's infancy, that was fine. Way to have a fight be difficult and engaging, like the legendary Goku event, for example. Modern Dokkan just has units with too many powerful tools for just stats to be engaging while also being difficult. Over the past year, Dokkan has been having bosses do a lot more because of this. Most serious bosses having passives that increase their own stats, having crit, locking, dodge, cancelling, etc. So when you give a variety of bosses with these interesting mechanics that make the player think about their actions every single turn and have to adapt on the fly, but then rip that away for a stat fest, it leaves you wanting a lot more. A good designed difficult fight is one that has the stats to both be able to survive our units but also to do damage to them, and also has the mechanics to actually make the player think about their actions beyond orb management. And then you have the biggest sin of Festival of Battles, how long it takes. Most people playing the game either have jobs or have classes and work they need to do for their classes. I've got both. We got probably an hour or so per day to engage in the game. Festival of Battles can take 4 hours to play through. Can it? I think the longest I've seen is it taking almost 3, but I guess it depends on the pace, right? 4 hours of doing nothing but stacking and nothing else because there's no mechanics that force you to think beyond that. 4 hours of mind-numbing orb tapping. It's long, tedious and boring and feels like a chore. It's overly ambitious fight that is ultimately disappointing. Honestly, a rather fitting capstone to the 10th anniversary. I mean, you can see, like, fair enough if they I'm not saying they don't believe this and they're baiting and stuff, but you can see that it is very much angled as, like, obviously coming into this with an agenda, right? So overall it's ambitious and disappointing, just like the 10th anniversary. But yeah, I don't agree with that. I mean, I agree with kind of the point about Festival Battles, because you guys know I don't like it. It takes you like it can take you like 2.5 hours to get to Glorio and Goku, and really up to that point it is just boring. You are just stacking, and once all of your units have gotten to like 2 million defense, for the first like 35 or so phases you literally can't die, because until you get to phase, I think it is 40 even with the World Tournament Goku, bosses aren't hitting for harder than 2 million, so with their super attacks. So when all of your units have gotten up to 2 million defense, you can't die, and all you're doing at that point is then just stacking and stacking and stacking, ready to get to the last 10 phases, and yeah, that is really boring. It's not a fun game mode. And the fact that it takes that long is super annoying. And then you can get to that 2.5 hour mark, get to the actual tough stages, and then against some of those bosses, you can end up with a rotation where it's like, oh, I actually didn't stack this unit enough. So either they don't have enough defense or they don't have enough offense to kill the boss before the turn rotation runs out. So yeah, I mean, I think the event is terribly designed, but it's an interesting, like, extra little final event for the anniversary. Whilst I don't like it, I wouldn't necessarily mark down the anniversary for it because we got so much other content. So I think it's just one of those things. It's an event that's not for me. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I know there are people that do like it. So yeah, it does suck. I kind of agree with most of this last part. The thing I have seen people say though as well, which I'm kind of on the fence with that argument, is, you know, you say you've only got an hour to play the game. Well, I mean, you can also play it like once you're done with school or work or whatever, and if you're at home and you're like watching something on the TV or you're playing like a console game or something, you can still like look down and tap your phone a few times. And so obviously that makes the run take a lot longer, but with it being a kind of monotonous grind fest, it's not like you're required to pay full attention to it the whole time, right? That's why the completion time on my first winning run is like 9 hours, because I did a little bit of it, then put my phone down and like quit the game, right? And then went back to it a little bit later and did a little bit more. And then I did some on like an evening stream, and then we stopped and got to, I think I was like at Dragon Fist Goku, and then carried on again like the next morning on stream, and that's when I beat it. Now the thing that is annoying about that is if you only get a little bit of time to play it every day and you're stuck in that event for hours, then obviously if you're still in the event, let's say when you go to bed one day, you get up the next day, you're still in the event. If you don't finish it that day, you'd obviously miss out on like your daily login and getting like doing the daily missions and stuff because you were stuck in an event for the whole day. So I do see that for like, if you're someone that you literally do only get like an hour to play it a day, then you're not going to be able to end up finishing it, which is kind of annoying. But at the same time, like, if you want to do this event, unfortunately, that's how long it takes. You've just got to find the time to do it. And like I said, even if that means while you're doing something else, like watching a movie or whatever, you can still, you know, chug away at it, especially in the grindy stages. And that's, I'm not saying that's good. I think it's a bad event, but at least that is a way you can get it done. So, so 10th anniversary, half the new releases were disappointing. Again, I don't agree with that. Half the EZAs were disappointing. I don't agree with that. I think we said, what, it was about a quarter, if that I thought were not good enough. Content was either undertuned or a chore to play. Again, I don't agree with that. I don't think the red zone stages were undertuned. Festival of Battles is a chore to play. Well, at least it's over. Something very important about these major celebrations is the state they leave the game in. We're leaving the 10th anniversary with a handful of disappointing units and a ton of content that's all boring because it's either too easy or too long. I mean, yeah, I just don't agree with that at all. Your average player and even a lot more serious players aren't going to feel any motivation to replay the difficult fights because of this. Sure, we got more this anniversary than ever before, but when half the stuff we got is a middle finger, it doesn't feel good. I mean, I just feel like that's a super extreme. Like, obviously this person does not like this content for the reasons that they've stated, but like, this is just going way too, like, half the stuff we got is a middle finger to the players. It's like, nah, we're nowhere near that level. Until we get new difficult content, likely a few months out at most, the game doesn't really feel worth playing, and that's not what an anniversary should leave players feeling. I mean, again, all of this is subjective, of course, because it's just this person's opinion, and if this is how they feel, like, with now that the anniversary's over, they have every right to, right? And they're trying their best to explain why they feel that way in this thread, but I definitely don't agree. And it's interesting, I know this thread is to highlight the things that they don't like about the anniversary, but it's interesting that they conveniently left out, like, some of the best parts about the anniversary, right? Like, the tag mechanic is something that we've wanted for ages, fixes the category issues that Joined Forces characters have always had. Anniversary had pity for the first time, right? So no repeat of the 6th anniversary for me, going 4,000 stones without getting Blue Evolution Vegeta. And lest we forget, the Purunga Dragon Balls, right? They literally gave every single player in the game one of the free anniversary headliners. Now, don't get me wrong, if everything else about the anniversary was bad, I don't think we should, like, you know, shill, let them pull that like Purunga wool over our eyes and be like, well, guys, we got a free headliner if the rest of the anniversary sucked. I'm not saying that that gives the anniversary carte blanche to be not good in other areas, but like, how can you say that the 10th anniversary overall was a disaster when we have things like it was the first anniversary with Pity, everybody got a free headliner? Like, some of the content, because I got really unlucky in part 1, got much more lucky with my summons in part 2, used the Pity, and then we got the Purunga Wish, so that actually is how I ended up getting all 6 of the headlining units. Some of the content really felt like if you don't have Vegito or Gogeta, it's just too hard, right? And then once I got Vegito and started running his team, it's like, wow, yeah, a lot of these red zone stages are so much easier once you've got him. And if it was a normal anniversary setup or any other celebration, it would be really annoying to be like, well, this content is too hard if you didn't pull the new unit, and that's not fair to everyone who doesn't get the new unit, except everybody should have been able to get Vegito. Like, if you didn't pick Tech Vegito with your stone, and you didn't, obviously, if you pulled him, you could have picked someone else. But if you didn't, if you're leaving this anniversary without Tech Vegito, why? Right? Like, if you didn't have him, he is absolutely who you should have got with your Purunga Wish. And I've seen like 90% of the completed runs in the Festival of Battles are all with the Tech Vegito lead, which everybody should be able to have because they gave him away for free, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I was going to take a look at like the quotes, but I've seen some of them like off camera, and obviously with things like this, you know what people are like on the internet, and this is why I said at the beginning, I don't want people being rude or being negative to this person or whatever, because some of the quotes are just people straight up being like horrible, which I think is unnecessary. I've always said, like, when I do my tier list, right, people always disagree with my tier lists and call them trash and stuff, and it's like, people are perfectly okay. I'm perfectly okay for people to disagree with my takes if you give me like an explanation why. There's nothing more annoying than people just being overly negative about like your takes or your tier lists and stuff, but they don't actually give you any sort of explanation as to why. So I've tried to break this down, give the reasons why I disagree or do agree with some of these points, but yeah, I don't know whether it is overly inflammatory for like attention grabbing or whatever, but yeah, even if you don't think the 10th anniversary was a great celebration overall, which I do think most people probably do, like if you don't think it's the best anniversary, obviously, you know, that's all fine and good, but to call it a disaster I think is absolutely insane. That maybe that's because I think it's the best celebration that we've ever had in the game so far. We got given out more stones than ever before. I feel like we got more content than we ever have. They drip fed the content way better as well. We never really had any periods where a ton of stuff dropped on one day and then we got nothing for like a whole week. So I don't know. I think overall it was just really, really good. Even if it's not your like #1 best celebration ever, I think calling it a disaster is just beyond wild. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What were your thoughts on the 10th anniversary? I'm not sure which one I'll put up first, but like people did ask me the other day, like as the anniversary was officially ending, if I would do a video like recapping my thoughts. So maybe after reading through this thread and recording it, maybe I should do my own version, like discussing why I think it was so good. But who knows if I will do that. If I have, maybe that video has already gone up before this one, who knows. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts on the anniversary down below in the comment section. And shout out to Rody. Like I said at the beginning, I have nothing against this person. I know they're going to have received a ton of like, you know, rude comments and retweets on this, so this is not to like add on to that. This is just to give my feedback and why I think the anniversary was good. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.